Welcome to the Iferia TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Melanie Gorman, the founder and chief strategist of Crownsville Media, an SEO and digital marketing agency with a unique twist. With a master's degree in counseling psychology and over 2 decades of experience, she bridges the gap between human behavior and search engine algorithms. She has developed a common sense SEO approach, helping therapists, coaches, and service-based business owners build sustainable online visibility by combining strategic marketing with a deep understanding of their audience needs. In this episode, we'll explore her systematic method for creating authentic content and how to apply psychological principles to digital growth. So, Melanie, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. Welcome to the
Thank
Etheria
you so
TechCast.
much. Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, let's get things started. So, your journey is so unique from a therapist with a master's in counseling psychology to an SEO strategist. So, what was the pivotal moment or insight that made you see the deep connection between understanding human psychology and understanding search engine algorithms?
So it's a great question because I know it's a little different. I trained to be a therapist like all of therapists, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
learned about how people think and what they do and where they are stuck and their pain points. And early in my career, I worked for John Gray, who wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which lots of people have heard about.
Mm,
And I worked for John for 8 years. And when I took the job, it was teaching single people how to date, which was incredibly fun. I was single, it was great. And one of the parts of the job that I grew into was I created a coaching program and I also helped run all of his online, like his website and his online presence. He had a community. Um, but keep in mind, this was in 2001, 2002. Like, this is a long time ago. And I didn't have a lot of experience working online. Hardly anybody did back then, but working online became something that I was really, really good at. I come from a family of computer people, and it was just second nature to me. And what I soon realized was that there's a lot of different ways to help the world. The internet was making things so much more accessible to so many people, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I was naturally good at it, and I was genuinely incredibly curious about how it all worked. So I spent a lot of time learning how to build his community and how to run his websites. Left working for John in 2009 and I worked for a publishing company out of New York City where I worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of small business owners that are in the mental health space. So I worked with coaches and therapists and helped them grow their practices. And what I realized was all of this online work had this incredible ripple effect. So whereas I loved therapy where, it was one-on-one and I helped one person at a time, when by doing it in a digital fashion and then teaching the experts how to help other people, I had a significantly bigger impact. And I really wanted to be a part of that. So, but there's a lot of kind of funky stuff out there, some of which is not great advice, which is where all the common sense stuff comes in. So for the last 20 years, I've been working with small business owners. It could be single therapists or single coach practices. It could be practices that have 15 or 20 clinicians or practitioners, working as part of the group. And I help them figure out how to find clients, how to build a brand, how to write content, how to do social media, do podcasts, like all this sort of stuff. And it has a significantly bigger impact than I was ever able to have one on one. So that's how my worlds came together. Crownsville Media was born in 2001. Like so many small businesses, was a pandemic baby. And it became something where I work more in more of a connected way with my clients on all of their marketing. So many of my clients have big things like books or podcasts where they're trying to figure out how to extend that reach. So I get to help them with their websites and with all of their marketing. So it's a real full circle kind of experience for me, but it all stems from just a genuine curiosity about how we think and how we
Mm.
function, how we make decisions. And all of that goes back to my therapy days. And it's just a joy to do. It's delightful to work with the small business owners and help them figure out like how to communicate and how to talk to people and how to make good marketing decisions. So I love the work I do.
Great, great, Melanie. That sounds like a really fascinating journey for you so far. So you've coined the term common sense SEO. So for the analytical minds in our audience, what are one or two foundational principles of this approach that most people overcomplicate?
Yeah, right. It's such a good question. Number one, you have to know your audience and where they
Mm,
hang out, and that should direct all of your decisions.
mm,
This idea, like now it's called omnipresent SEO. That's a big sort of buzzword you'll hear out there. In the past, it was just this kind of universal social media approach. If you go back to like 2015, that's what we were talking about. Like if you wanted your brand to be known, you had to be on Facebook and TikTok. You had to be on X, you had to be on Instagram, you'd be everywhere, YouTube. And there's a world where that's too much work for any one person to do well. And if your clients hang out, if your clients aren't watching videos, why would you do video, right? If your clients are listening to podcasts, you should do 10 times more podcasts than you probably record. So common sense is really about knowing the combination of where your clients actually hang out, spend time, and consume content, and what kind of content you actually are interested in creating. Because anybody could tell you to film videos, but if you hate being on camera, you're never going to follow through with that. You're not going to do that consistently well. You're not going to wake up in the morning going, wow, I can't wait to film another video, right? If you hate it. So, common sense is really about energy management and understanding where you want to spend your time so that it aligns with how your clients want to receive all the good stuff you're putting out there into the world, knowing you have to do a lot of it. Like if you want your podcast to be known, Ezekiel, you have to film a lot of podcasts, right? And not just do it once or for a season or for a run of show. You have to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. So it's got to be something that
yeah.
aligns with your energy, what you like, what your clients want. Like that is the foundational common sense principle.
All right. That's a really brilliant response, Melanie. So you talk about the 18-month strategy that changes everything. So why is an 18-month time frame so critical for building a sustainable online presence? And what should someone focus on in the first 90 days to set that foundation?
Okay. Yeah. Let me answer them separately.
Yeah.
The brilliance of the 18 months. So this is, we've done case studies. We've tracked this with clients.
Hmm.
18 months gives Google enough time to begin to trust your business. Okay. So
Oh, wow.
Google does not trust a business that just comes out of the gate. Any of us could say, I'm the best, I'm amazing, right? Here's all this stuff that I'm doing. Um, I've had clients that have blitzed content where they've written 1,000 articles and Google just turns them off, right? You like relationships, you have to spend time learning to trust that a business is going to follow through with what they claim that they can do, that the services that you offer are being given reviews by people who agree that you've provided the results that you promised to provide. And that really doesn't matter what industry you're in. So we've done SEO. About 80% of our clients are in the mental health space, but we've done SEO for lawyers, for authors, for plumbers. Like that was kind of fun. So we've done all kinds of different projects. It's the same. 18 months gives you enough time to write or produce the content you need so that it gets indexed into Google, and then you give Google time to learn to trust your business, time to learn to trust your business. And then once they know how to trust your business, then they will give you more attention. When they give you more attention, then they trust the second layer of your business. So in SEO, what happens is you publish some articles and you're on page 100, right? You're at the bottom of the barrel, right? You publish the next round. Maybe you show up on page, I don't know, like page start at 100, you publish, you're on page 50. then you do some more, and now you're on page 25. Then you do some more, and you're on page 10. The more you publish over time with a developed niche, the more you're able to prove to Google that you're a trusted entity. So that's where the 18 months comes in. And you need a content strategy inside of that 18-month window so that you start to niche down. So the second part of your question was about 90 days. Understanding where you live inside of your niche or your niche is a critical part of being discovered in AI. So in the last year, as we've all taken ChatGPT home and used it for everything, the truth about AI is that there's two different ways right now. The two big AI tools are ChatGPT and Gemini, and they are in a death match to figure out who's going to get our money, our time, and our attention. Because most of us pay, like the money we pay to prove that we're interested in you is our time. Watched your video, listened to your podcast, or read your article, right? So time is the commodity that we all have to care about. And if you produce this great podcast that's 30 minutes long and nobody listens to it, it could be brilliant, but you're Shakespeare in a closet. Nobody knows you exist. So if you want to be discovered in 90 days, if you want to seed that 18 months doing the work in the first 90 days, you have to have a niche. You can't be everything to everybody, because the way ChatGPT and Gemini work is that it's a behavioral change. It used to be that we would go to Google and we would say, best podcast for small businesses, Spotify, right? We would ask this like 5 or 6 word question, and Google would give us the results based on who had proven over time that they deserved Google's trust, right? That's how you get first page placement. You get Google to trust you by producing lots of content that people like, they show interest in by spending time on it. And then Google goes, great, Ezekiel's amazing. Let me show more of Ezekiel's stuff, because I, Google, care about myself. I want people coming to my search engine, right? So that's how Google thinks. And their algorithm reinforces it. And the background and all the stuff you can't really read about their algorithm around trust, all is in support of this idea. So if your business is too broad and you're trying to develop authority in your topic, you can't be an authority in everything. You have to pick a niche. What's changed behaviorally with AI is how we do our searching. So now we go to Google, Gemini, or go to ChatGPT, and we say in like 30 words, who is the best podcast that I should listen to on Spotify, who can help me understand what I should do in the first 90 days to launch my business. I'm interested in selling brownies and cake products over the holidays, and I want to make an extra $10,000. Who can teach me about that? And you know what the magic is? AI will tell you, right? It doesn't mean it's perfect, but it will tell you results. And the difference between the results in ChatGPT and the results in Gemini are that ChatGPT is a popularity contest and Gemini is based on trust metrics. So as human beings, we still use Google for the results, but we use Chat and Gemini to make decisions about who to investigate and who to look at a deeper level. So to answer your question in this very long-winded way, I'm sorry. In 90 days, what I would do for a new business is say, what are you the expert at? Give me one thing. What are you the expert at? Write and produce enough content over those 90 days to prove that, right? And don't use ChatGPT to write all your content, because we all know what ChatGPT content looks like, right?
Yeah.
Spend the time to teach me as a buyer, as a consumer, why your podcast is the one I should listen to, by giving me the evidence I need that proves that you're the one that I should listen to. And you can do that in 90 days. It doesn't mean you're going to be the top of Google search, because that takes 18 months. You're not going to be there right away. And that requires that you continue after your 90 days producing, right? But that is the trick. Niche down in 90 days, get really clear about why you're the best, and answer the question. This is what I tell all my clients. Why am I buying from you, and why now? Why you and why now? If you can answer that question for me in your content, then there's a reason for me to listen to it. There's a reason for me to give you money. There's a reason for me to give you my time, right? If it's someday you might want to do it, well, someday I might do it, right? Urgency. We are we search for help when we need help. We don't search for help when we're thinking about it. Like,
Mm.
we buy based on a need. So address the need. So have a niche, answer the question of why you, why now, and spend a lot of time building that niche in the first 90. And then from 91 days on, continue to fill that up, continue to work at that and evolve as technology evolves.
All right, that is indeed a very insightful response, Melanie. So, still on the topic of AI, you emphasize using it with integrity and heart. So, what does that look like in practice, and how can a business owner use AI as a tool without, their content sounding generic and losing their unique voice?
Yeah, such a good question. So if you're going to so ChatGPT can be better because it has a folder structure. Like, you can build your whole brand inside of ChatGPT, right? But you can't do that using the free account. So you got to pay the $20, right? That's what it costs in the US for a paid account. And then you can build, like, you could teach it about your business, right? You could use your PowerPoints, your PDFs. You can upload all of that content to teach it about who you are to your clients and answer why you, why now, and why you are the expert in this niche. And you build all of that inside of ChatGPT. And you can create your own personal GPT. We do this for people, we do it for ourselves, right? So a lot of people, when it comes time to write their content, writing scares people. It makes them anxious. They're not comfortable with the written word. That is probably more so if you're writing in a different language, right? So if your native language is not English and you're trying to write in English because you want to market to people in the United States, right? That adds to people's anxiety. So it's really tempting to use something like ChatGPT to write all of your content. So I tell clients, if writing makes you nervous, use it as a writing partner. Really use it as a buddy to help you get your first draft on the page so that you can then spend this energy editing it. Because I'll tell you this, after a year of using ChatGPT, like almost every day in different capacities, would never publish something that was written in ChatGPT without spending an hour editing it. I always have to go into everything it produces. Even if I'm great hack for people is if you're on podcasts, you can download and transcribe the podcast and then get article ideas from what you talked about on the podcast. It's a great tool. It's a great way to do it. So it's authentic. It's your voice. You've said all the words, right? And you can get ChatGPT to help you draft that into an article. Then you have to edit that article to make it read well, to have good paragraph structure, to remove all of the AI tells, and to make sure the transitions between your ideas actually make sense. I have done this for many people. They'll say, like, here's 10 podcasts I was on or 10 videos I was on. Go write me some articles. And what I've found over the year is that we don't develop ideas fully in an interview, right? I'm just kind of giving you bullet points of things that I do, but I haven't exactly given you the how. I haven't given you all the magic sauce. I haven't slowed it down enough so it's repeatable for you. And that is what we expect in an article. If you're going to write, how to write a brilliant article, from beginning to end, it has to include more than what I've just told you here. Use ChatGPT as a tool to get you going, but then work with either a writer or an editor or both, right? And if you're a small business, that's you. Like, you have to do every job, right? So if you're doing the editing, spend the time to make sure that it's really well done. Ensuring your voice in a transcript is a way to make it authentically good, right? Because these are my words. I have said them. So, and if you're not someone on podcasts, like if you haven't ventured in and you're doing this yet, which I highly recommend doing, by the way, people are so kind about having you or someone like me or someone like you come on a podcast because they want your expertise as a part of their show. So it's a great way to practice what you want to say. But if you are not ready to venture into that, use voice to text. Pull up a Google Doc on your phone, pull it up, hit the microphone, and just speak what you want to say, right? It's a great way to practice and you'll get a lot out. Of course, it all has to be edited because it's way too many words and it's disorganized and all that sort of stuff, but it will get you going. And writing and having content, you have to get over your own personal hurdles for what makes you nervous. Like, I'm not a good writer. I didn't score well in English in high school. Like, whatever that story is in your head, you have to get over it, right? If you want to have content. So those are ways that you can use ChatGPT as a writing buddy or as a coach or mentor to help you get going. But you are the expert in your message. So you must stop at that point and edit it so it's really yours. Then you can publish it.
All right. So I like to ask, with your background in therapy, how does your understanding of human motivation, fear, and desire directly influence the way you structure a website or craft the content to connect and convert?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question too. A lot of people like fear in marketing. Like, if you don't do this now, you're going to lose out kind of ideas. In the therapy space, that doesn't work because there's no marketing message that's going to get someone to go to therapy faster. People go to therapy when they are psychologically ready for therapy. It's just that way. So, and everybody's a little bit different. So understanding who your clients are is an important part of that variable. I'll talk about that in a second. But you're never going to get someone to go to therapy sooner. You're never going to get them to hire you as a coach faster, right? They have to have an organic, natural, heartfelt, real need, right? And it can come out of nowhere. Somebody dies, they need therapy because they're grieving, right? They lose their job, they're scared, right? They need a coach to help them find their next job. So it can come out of nowhere, or it can be a realization that someone has, like, I've been stuck at this soul sucking job for the past 3 years. I'm miserable. I'm burned out. I hate it. I don't want to go to work every day. I have to change this. People get to their decisions. You're almost in the therapy and the coaching space, you're almost like a baseball catcher. You know what I mean? Like, you're almost like the catcher that's kind of sitting there going, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Right. And you're waiting for them to show up. So your message on your website has to validate that you're ready for them when they're ready. When you understand your client's base and you understand psychologically where they're coming from, you can write to those pieces. So I do an assessment with all my clients where I look at what's called psychographic data, where I really look at not like your client is a woman 35 to 55, who's married, like, that stuff is nice, but it's not the guarantee. Your clients are a bell curve. Like, they're going to be all over the place, right? So you want to understand psychologically how ready and prepared they are to get help. So you can write to that. So when I do this exercise with clients, what I'm really looking at is, have your clients ever been in therapy before? Clients that have never been in therapy before, you have to explain therapy to them. They don't know what they can't imagine what it's like to talk for 60 minutes, right? So you have to slow down, break that down. Are you going to ask them questions? Are you going to talk to them about their problems? Are you going to diagnose them? Are like, you're talking about, do you need to define things, right? So a client that's never been in therapy, if they get a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, they're going to need a working definition of what that is. A client that's been in therapy 3, 4, 5 times, right, over their lifetime, and they're actually like 65 years old, you don't need to define bipolar disorder. They know what that is, right? So knowing like where your clients are coming from as they approach your business gives you a lean in to how to write about the challenges that you help them with. It also helps with your niche and your expertise. So in terms of fear, I don't really think fear motivates people in the therapy space. If you're selling something on Black Friday and the deal is going away, that's a whole different discussion, right? So if you're like, like this microphone, the one that you're using right now, or that t-shirt that you're wearing, or that headset that you're wearing, you can get that for 50% off. And if you don't buy it by the day after Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's or whatever it is, right, and you're going to lose it. That fear kind of stuff works because people want a deal, right? So
Yeah,
fear-based marketing works in some industries and not others. Does that make sense? Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does. Yeah,
Yeah.
great response, Melanie. So I'd like you to walk us through a before and after scenario. So can you share like a story of a client whose website was saying the wrong thing to Google and their ideal clients? And what was the key change you made that turned it into a lead generating machine?
So we have a client that's a therapy practice in Manhattan in New York City.
Hmm.
So When they came to us, they had built their own website. The website had been live for many years. Like, I think that when they came to us, I think they were working on a website that was 7 or 8 years old. So one of the first things we look at with websites is Google able to really read everything? Is anything deprecating or falling apart or no longer supported? And I think at the time they had 150 blogs. Like, they had a lot of blogs. So what we did with that site was we reviewed all the blogs and we pruned it. So we removed about half of the blogs that were not getting any traffic or any attention. It doesn't mean that the topics were bad, but in Google's eyes, they were old. And there's something in Google's algorithm about freshness and fresh content. So we pruned the blog and we took about 50% of it away. We kept the copy so that they could reproduce it if they wanted to go at it again, but we definitely got rid of a bunch of it. The stuff that was good, not great, we refurbished and we republished. So we redid it and we put it back out there, new headline, new additional copy, updated it, gave it more of an authoritative view, made sure that none of the details were uncited. So what I mean by that is, 50% of marriages end in divorce. If you give a data point in an article, you have to cite where that fact comes from. So we cleaned all of those things up. We also worked on the service pages. So when you're thinking about ChatGPT and you're really thinking about this niche, every service that you offer needs its own page. You can't cram things together. So if you say, like, I offer therapy for depression, but really it's depression after a loss, depression that doesn't go away. There's a world where you have so much traffic and you're so busy, you just keep it all on one depression page. But for somebody that wants more traffic, and this business in particular was looking to bring on more clinicians. So they have 14 therapists that work at that business now. And when we started with them, they had like 8 or 9. So they've been able to add more people because they slowed it down, made more service pages for all of the different niches that they serve. And then they were able to develop expertise in the blog that supported those landing pages. That doubled their traffic. Right. So it was this combo approach where we got rid of the dead weight. Like, think of it like a rose bush or a beautiful flowering plant. If it's weighed down, things too heavy, if you prune it, it pops to life. And that's what happens. And it's a strategy that's been done. Like, last year, there was a big report from Bumble. The dating service did this and they got a huge amount of traffic, a big push to their traffic. So it's a strategy that works, but you have to be thoughtful. And you have to look at the content from a lot of different lenses, because not all of your content that gets traffic is doing great for SEO, and not all of your stuff that's great in SEO brings you traffic. So you have to look at both of those things. And we look at traffic reports through Google Analytics, intention reports through Search Console, SEMrush that gives you data for the keyword specifically. And it's like all of those things come together to give you like a look at how you prune and then what you refurbish, and where you have gaps in your content where you say, like, we're a therapy practice that specializes in treatment resistant depression, but we don't have any articles about it. There's a gap. We got to write to those. So identifying gaps is a really big part of the puzzle.
Uh, I'd like to know, for the many creators and founders who feel overwhelmed by the pressure to, be on every platform, what is your common sense framework for deciding where to focus their limited time and energy?
Yeah. I mean, I think one easy thing to do is to ask yourself, do you like to write? Do you like to talk? Or do you like to read? Or I'm sorry, do video, right? So
Mm.
video, audio, written, right? And I think when you can answer that question for yourself, then you have a sense of, like, I love doing video. So I want to be on YouTube. I want to be on Instagram. I want to be on LinkedIn. I want to be on TikTok, right? I don't like to do video, right? But I like to talk. Great. I want to do a podcast. And if I'm going to have guests, maybe I get some video out of that, or maybe I'm just doing an audio podcast, right? So I think the easiest thing to do in terms of your social media is to ask yourself where you want to create content and what you're willing, like what you will have to market with. That gives you some, like, you're going to cut some things out, you're going to have some other things. As an SEO person, I would tell you, you want to dominate the first page of search for your name and your business name. So if you Google on my name, Melanie Gorman, or you Google Crownsville Media, I either own or have access to edit everything that shows up on the first page for both of those results, right? Now, that's
Mm,
harder if your name is John Smith. So there are things about your business that make it more or less difficult to dominate the first page of search. And there are some social platforms that have an impact on that. For example, everybody should have a Facebook page because Facebook has a direct connection to Google. And you will get, if there's 10 results on a page of Google search, you will get one result for your Facebook page, guaranteed. So that is helpful for like a Crownsville Media. Like, I'm just going to push somebody else down, right? Because I have a Crownsville Media Facebook page, right? So there's certain things that you want just to have brand authority and you want to be known in that way. And then there's
mm.
other things that are really about like, I'm going to do video. So I have to have an Instagram page. I have to have a TikTok page, right? Or I'm never going to do video. And so TikTok's not something I ever have to worry about. Common sense says pick the stuff you're going to do, the stuff you'll stick with for 18 months minimum, right? And go and lean into those and work those angles and then add stuff in as it makes sense. When you're growing, everything should grow based on bridges, right? So what I mean by that is like if I've never done any videos whatsoever, TikTok is a brand new thing to me. But if I've done some video and I'm already putting some stuff up on Instagram, well, adding that same stuff to TikTok doesn't matter, right? That's a bridge. So make smart decisions about bridges, and then you'll get further faster.
Great. So in your work, systematically blending, the art of human understanding with the science of digital visibility to help purpose-driven businesses. So, what does the word innovation truly mean to you?
You ask great questions. I think innovation is a combination of new thought, like bringing some new creativity to what you're doing, but also being authentically aligned with yourself. You know what I mean? Like I can innovate what I'm doing at Crownsville Media, but everything else I'm kind of piggybacking on everybody else's ideas. My true innovation lives here because this is my life, right? And it is the creative juices that you bring to whatever project you're working on where you are learning something new and you are upskilling and you're up leveling. So you are growing and that is meaningful to your business, your clients, and your bottom line. And I think we should all be innovating all the time, right? Like I'm a consummate student. Like my team knows that I'm going to bring something to every team meeting where I've either read it, watched it, seen it, done it. And I'm like, we got to think about this. And that is a part of being a student of the craft. You innovate naturally if you love what you do and you study it like a student, as opposed to, because I'm a student of this. I am an expert, but I'm the student of this first and foremost. Right. And I think that's where innovation comes.
Great, great. So, finally, for our listeners who are inspired by your common sense approach and want to learn more, so what's the best place for them to go explore your work and resources at Crownsville Media?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you're going to put this in the show notes or in the bottom
Yeah,
of the
sure.
video. Yeah. But like on my website, crownsvillemedia.com, there is a link at the top that says schedule a consultation with me. I give people some free time with me to explore their website, what's working, what's not. Like I'm a big show and tell person. So I tend to do all my calls on Zoom and then share the screen and show you what I see, what Google sees, because I think that's very helpful and impactful for decision making and figuring out like what your next steps should be. So I'm happy to do that for anybody that's interested.
All right, fantastic. It's been such an insightful conversation with you, Melanie, and I am indeed excited and honored to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.